My name's Daniel. At 25, I look back at the time when I was an awkward 18-year-old, all lanky limbs and rough hands from my part-time construction job, bursting with ideas that I had no clue how to articulate. I was that kid who couldn't resist taking apart the family toaster just to satisfy my curiosity about how it functioned. And sometimes, sure, I just couldn't pull it all together again. And hung ma min luk now kung hok duok du gi do. I spent my childhood in a cozy little 2-bedroom house with my mom, stepdad, and my younger half-brother, Jeremy. My biological father took off when I was just 2 years old, and my mom tied the knot again when I turned 8. Kutudu, twakem the nu min chi la mot 6 kok thwang truck trong chin goi na kwa min. Not exactly a family just putting up with it. My mom, Sandra, definitely had her own unique way of showing love. She had that whole pull-yourself-up-by-your-bootstraps vibe going on, which could have worked if she didn't keep tripping over those very straps every time I tried to get a leg up. She held the title of office manager and consistently carried herself as if she were the brightest bulb in any gathering, even when surrounded by a whiteboard filled with complex equations. My stepdad, Gary, was mostly quiet, only breaking his silence to shout about the thermostat or football. Va Jeremy T. Saw? Chong Trey Vang. Strappy student, captain of the JV baseball team, and the delighted possessor of a shiny new laptop that somehow appeared from family funds after I had been pleading for assistance to replace mine for over a year. Ever since I can recall, I've had this quirky dream of becoming an engineer. I couldn't care less about the type, electrical, mechanical, software, whatever you throw at me. I absolutely enjoyed figuring things out and making them function smoothly. I'd burn the midnight oil diving into tutorials, jotting down notes on whatever scrap paper I could find, and even rummaging through discarded electronics that people carelessly left in the alley behind our street. My grades were a bit of a roller coaster ride. Juggling a part-time job while aiming to maintain a roof over my head definitely threw a wrench in my GPA, but I managed to outsmart the situation. I totally knew I was a genius. I simply found myself without a single ally by my side. When college decision season came knocking, I found myself accepted into a pretty good state university. Not exactly Ivy League material, but their engineering program definitely held its own. I had been pouring my heart into my application essays for months, sneaking into the school library to use their computers since my own had finally kicked the bucket for good. When I opened the acceptance email, I couldn't help but shed a few tears of joy. It had been ages since I last shed a tear. It was like the very first genuine experience I've ever had. I waltzed into the house that day, grinning from ear to ear, holding the printed letter as if it were a treasure beyond measure. I shared my news with Mom and Gary at dinner, hoping for at least a little thumbs up. Surprisingly, my mom burst into laughter. Gan ky thura? What about you? She said, a playful grin dancing on her lips. Thoi now, Daniel. Hey niyum tuc mot chutney. Gary was so engrossed in his mashed potatoes that he didn't even bother to glance up. Math overload. That's not really your thing, is it? I looked at them, completely flabbergasted. Guess what? I made it in. I'm not joking around. Chikchan la tua ko the lam dunai. You just squeaked by in algebra, Mom quipped. Do you really believe that a college is going to magically transform you into the next Einstein? Xian vui loan. Oh, you should really appreciate the fact that we're allowing you to hang out here. Welcome to adulthood. You're all grown up now. Wow, that last part really caught me off guard. I had always sensed that I wasn't viewed the same as Jeremy, but to hear it spoken aloud, as if I were just a nuisance they were putting up with out of duty, really shattered something inside me. I attempted to reason, discuss scholarships, the part-time job I would maintain, how I could secure student loans, but it felt like chatting with a brick wall. An aloof, unfeeling wall that thinks it's better than everyone else. Why not give community college a shot for a year? Gary finally chimed in, suggesting something a bit more down-to-earth, like HVAC or plumbing. Those folks are raking it in. Those jobs were perfectly fine, but they just didn't light my fire. And I had put in so much effort, battled through countless internal struggles, only to be the subject of laughter from folks who couldn't even figure out how to open a PDF attachment without seeking assistance. That night, I plopped down on my bed, the acceptance letter resting on my lap, its edges beginning to curl from my enthusiastic grip. I just couldn't catch any Z's. I couldn't shake off her voice repeating, "Just be thankful we allowed you to stick around here." At 2 a.m., I threw together a backpack with 2 outfits, my lifeless laptop, maybe a tech wizard can revive it, a spiral notebook that's got some half-baked circuit doodles, and of course, my trusty toothbrush. Well, I was just winging it. I totally realized there was no way I could stick around. If I stuck around, I'd turn into a fossil. I had turned into precisely what they claimed I was. Oh, I totally forgot to leave a note. I crashed at a friend's place for a few days, and their folks were unexpectedly chill about it. I kept some details to myself, only mentioning that home life was a bit rough. They kindly offered me their futon to crash on while I figured everything out. I rang up the university's student services office and shared my little predicament. To my surprise, they actually had a program for at-risk students, emergency housing, meal plans, and even a little stipend. It wasn't exactly a red carpet affair, but hey, it had its moments. The following years were quite the roller coaster for me. I juggled 30 hours a week at a tech repair shop while managing a full course load. Talk about multitasking. I've missed meals so often, I've lost track of the number. I dutifully attended office hours, set aside my ego when confusion struck, and gradually, step by step, I pieced myself together. By junior year, I had a 3.9 GPA and an internship at a startup where we were doing some truly outlandish things with renewable energy. Even though I was still broke, sharing a cramped apartment with no AC and a bathroom that could double as a science experiment, I was finally beginning to feel like I was steering my own ship. During those years, I managed to avoid any conversations with my mom or Gary entirely. Well, they sure took their sweet time, didn't they? They totally ghosted. I stumbled upon a few Facebook posts showcasing Jeremy's baseball games, his girlfriend, and his shiny new car, thanks to a little parental assistance, naturally. I made an effort to pretend it didn't matter. I swore I was over him, yet here I am, feeling that familiar sting again. Graduation arrived, bringing along a job offer that felt almost too good to be true. One of the engineers at the startup where I interned decided to venture out and start his own company, and guess what? He wanted me to join him right from the beginning. Oh, but wait, there's more to the story. Not even in the same ballpark. Just a week later, an email popped into my inbox. Definitely not from my mom. Definitely not from Jeremy. It came from Gary. Just a chunk of words strung together. No punctuation. No greeting. But the main point was this. Chung tua dang cho doi ban day. We brought you up. What you have is all thanks to us. If you don't lend a hand to your family, you might as well be wearing a clown nose and juggling your own excuses. Remember your roots, my friend. That last line landed like a ton of bricks, and I can't even pretend it didn't sting. Turns out they had a point about at least one thing. I definitely remember my roots. There's no way I could manage that, even if I gave it my all. Every sleepless night. Every time I heard that I didn't measure up. Moi lan by tu choi tsong vik. Every frosty glare exchanged over that dinner table. Everything was just as it had been. Etched into my mind forever. Carved into every inch of me that stubbornly held on. I totally ghosted Gary. I totally didn't have to. However, the emails just kept coming. 1 week later, here comes another one. And then, a delightful voicemail from my mother. Then there's one straight from Jeremy himself. His words were all jumbled up, throwing every possible insult my way. It seems they chose to join forces in their moment of need. And their frustration was bubbling up. One day, I strolled into the office and spotted my assistant looking like they'd just seen a ghost. She passed me her phone with a cheeky grin. Well, you might want to take a look at this. It was a little something shared online. In a neighborhood Facebook group. Local business owner waves goodbye to family. Not even a hint of support for a sick stepfather or a brother who's having a tough time finding a job. They had put pen to paper. My dear mother. Booker. Hokusai. Finish it off with some vintage family snapshots. Certain tales spun in unexpected ways. Lines that really pack a punch, like, we had his back when nobody else did and money has a funny way of changing folks. I was portrayed as a heartless tech bro who ditched the very people that shaped him. And folks were beginning to catch on. Reactions varied from, seriously, if this is legit, that's revolting, to, come on, don't take everything at face value. Well, the cat's out of the bag now. A few clients shot me some emails, clearly scratching their heads. One even suggested we hit the brakes on our project until things are a bit clearer. That's when I realized this had escalated beyond mere family antics. This was a total disaster. Little did they know who they were up against. I barely caught any Z's that night. I simply lounged around in bed, gazing at the ceiling fan twirling lazily above me, as if it could whisk away all my thoughts if I just focused intently enough. Yet they decided to stick around. Oh, the guilt! What a delightful little companion it can be. Kanjan-do. Oh, the gloominess. It all swirled around like a bunch of mischievous storm clouds, ready to play tricks. And right there in the thick of it was that Facebook post. That self-satisfied, crafty little tale my family whipped up and presented to the internet like a hot platter of half-baked truths. I totally saw what they were up to. They thought they could make me bow down with their attempts at humiliation, to turn me into the bad guy. And it was totally doing its thing. Chikchan la moti chutroy. One of our junior engineers approached me, a bit sheepishly, inquiring if everything was all right at home. I could totally see it in his eyes. Perhaps the tale he stumbled upon on the internet was more accurate than the one I actually experienced. I just couldn't let it go without a little fun. But I also couldn't go all out. Chuadaone. I realized I had to outsmart myself on that one. I wasn't keen on playing into the story they were spinning. Keep it on the down low, folks. Keep it light and breezy. I put together all that I owned with a sprinkle of discipline and a dash of patience. And now, those very tools would become my trusty shield. Soon after waking up, I decided to give a lawyer a ring. Chang ko chien kien tung daone. Chuadaone. Just trying to wrap my head around what I can choose from. Well, it seems that when someone goes around sharing false information that harms your reputation in business, there's actually a term for that little gem. En hung loi viu kong. And if I could show it had a financial impact, lost clients, paused contracts, I'd have a solid case for a lawsuit. My lawyer suggested I begin collecting all the necessary stuff. Pictures of the posts, messages from clients, and even the voicemails. Part of me found it hard to embrace this journey. It had a rather unclean vibe. Rambunctious. But honestly, when folks attempt to pull you into the muck, sometimes the best escape is to ensure they're the ones who end up wallowing in it. In the meantime, I had my assistant discreetly look into Jeremy's background. Nothing too pushy. Chi laen hung ho so tsong kai thoima. Mang exe hoi. Things like that. I was curious to see just how far he could stretch things. What I stumbled upon didn't catch me off guard, but it certainly let me down. Haven't had a job in a whole year. Missed out on community college, racked up 3 DUIs, 2 of which mysteriously vanished from mom's Facebook story, and a series of posts mainly focused on how folks like me never lend a hand to folks like him. I totally ignored all those new messages flooding in. I just had a little viewing party. And just sat there twiddling my thumbs. And then, just a week after that Facebook post, something unexpected happened that really put me in a tight spot. I found myself at a tech conference. Nothing too extravagant. Just a little local shindig where my company was showcasing a shiny new sustainability prototype. Everything was just peachy. Everyone was totally into it. A few hopeful investors swung by, and for a brief moment, I was filled with a sense of pride once more. Like perhaps I had braved the tempest. Until I laid my eyes on them. Leaning against the wall, arms crossed, sporting shades inside, there's Gary. And right beside him, nervously tugging at his sleeves, was Jeremy. I got stuck right in the middle of my words. My CTO, Ben, jumped right into the presentation as if it were a walk in the park. But my heart was thumping so hard it seemed like the mic could catch every beat. They totally ignored me at the event. They simply hung around. Dezem roine. And off they went. So, picture this. I stroll back to my car in the parking garage and what do I find? An envelope sneakily wedged under the windshield wiper, just waiting for me to discover it. It had my name on it, scrawled in Jeremy's chaotic, all-caps handwriting. Ben trong chi ko mot to ji duwe not. Typed, "Oh, you're really going to wish you hadn't done that. Remember the person you once were. Remember the ones who had your back when the going got tough. Cha ko chu ky now sie. Kong ko dia chi tralai." Well, that was the whole shebang. The instant when everything came into sharp focus. They had moved on from just trying to make me feel guilty. They thought they could scare me off. To give me a little fright to make me give in. Veti saw? Well, that was a bit of a blunder. After years of crafting something out of thin air, I've picked up a little trick. Always think a couple of moves ahead. How to turn pressure into your secret weapon. Catch len kahochne. Well, I came up with a little scheme. So, I decided to ring up the lawyer once more. Shared all the juicy details with him. Don't forget to add the note. We whipped up a little cease and desist letter. Bung chai. Chin tuk. And super obvious. It humorously highlighted the mess my business is already in. The trick Dan kak lut lin quan. And playfully cautioned that any future attempts at defamation or harassment would result in a lawsuit. Then I finally tackled something I'd been dodging for ages. I got in touch with my old buddy Marcus. The family that welcomed me with open arms when I decided to venture out on my own. He'd since turned into a journalist for a rather popular tech blog. I mentioned to him that I had a little tale to share. Chong Phi de Tra Thursday Down. However, let's be real. I just had to share the true story of how I ended up in this situation. We decided to catch up face to face. Perched at a tiny table in a bustling cafe downtown, I find myself facing Marcus. I finally spilled the beans on the whole saga. Tatsiamwa Thursday. The night I set off from home with nothing but a backpack in tow. The big no. And hung dem muon mong. The noodle feasts. Chuyen koi engip. And hung kuak goi. And hung buck email. The post on Facebook. He was pretty quiet. I just jotted down some notes. Questions that have been asked. Heard loud and clear. Just before we went our separate ways, I blurted out something that caught me off guard too. I really hope this doesn't come off as a negative attack. I don't want to put them in a tough spot. I simply want everyone to be aware of the reality. What it truly looks like when someone manages to escape. Marcus gave a playful nod. "I'll get it straight," he declared. And I totally believed in him. Just a week later, the article made its grand entrance. It didn't quite catch on. Not right away. And hung no bat dao lon rong are. From living on the streets to running the show. How an engineer turned the naysayers into a punchline while building a startup against all odds. The piece humorously illustrated the spirit of bouncing back. Visudoklap. Of subtle determination. It didn't exactly call out my family by name. And hung ma dao ko kan thiet dao. Everyone got the picture. The tale struck a chord. Comments came flooding in. Thursday dying too. Thongdip. Even those who invest. What's the most amusing part? A few of our clients on hold decided to check in. "Ah, the light bulb finally went on," one remarked. "Appreciate you giving your perspective." It was weeks before I heard a peep from my mother after the article came out. Just when I thought it was over, another voicemail popped up. Her voice had a fragile quality to it. Calculated. Yet, beneath it all, there was a fresh sound tickling my ears. "Lo Lang. Daniel huh? Thursday 6 gi. I have no idea what you believe you're up to." Well, this is spiraling a bit, isn't it? Everyone seems to be curious and firing off questions left and right. Your aunt gave me a ring, and let me tell you, she was in tears. Jeremy's been enjoying his drinks a bit too much lately. Gary's absolutely livid. You're portraying us as if we're the villains in a horror movie. There was a rather amusingly long pause. "Just give me a ring back, will ya?" Xian vui long. Nope, not at all. I held off for 2 whole days before I made my grand finale move. It definitely wasn't because of any second thoughts. It was a clever plan. I was hoping to see them break a sweat. I was hoping they'd be curious about whether I got the voicemail. If I had witnessed the aftermath. If I had finally made up my mind to give in. Hoke nu twadang mai dao. I had no intention of letting anyone walk all over me. Chong lu sao tatsan hung gi ho de lam saw? Not after they attempted to tarnish my reputation, my business, and my tranquility. However, I certainly wasn't about to lower myself to their standards. Keep it light and breezy. Kong ko vik nem det song kai. I plan to wrap this up just like I kicked it off. With a calm resolve and a last, bold decision. I gave her a ring again. En hung matwa kong lam du du tu dien thoi qua min dao ne. Tada. I pulled it off right from the office. With my lawyers silently eavesdropping. Cheetah fong ho thoi ne. She answered on the second ring. Her voice was a bit strained. Grappling with tension. It was as if she had practiced that tone in front of a mirror 100 times. Daniel huh? Chow me. I stated with a straight face. There was a little moment of silence. She definitely didn't see that coming, did she? Well, color me surprised that you actually called back. Oh, I see what you did there. Even quieter, please. She mentioned that things spiraled a bit too much. We were in quite a pickle, you know? Jeremy's really in a pickle. Gary is having a bit of a tough time with work. Well, I certainly didn't expect that Facebook situation to blow up like it did. I honestly didn't expect anyone to take it to heart. You really went out of your way to mess with my business, didn't you? Oh, come on, it wasn't quite like that. Well, you know, I was just standing there, completely at a loss for what to do next. Text.it seems our calls were playing hide and seek with you. Oh, so you only decided to ring me up when you had a little favor to ask, huh? And when I said no, you really went all out to make my life a mess. She just left me hanging. I continued on with a light-hearted spirit. You've really driven the point home, time and time again, about how much faith you don't have in me. Wow, your level of respect for me is truly impressive. As soon as I create something valuable, you swoop in to snatch it away. That's just a little bit of enthusiasm. That's quite the sense of entitlement, isn't it? Now her tone took a delightful twist. Oh, so you're really going to go ahead and punish us, huh? Vila ka nuoya? For messing things up? Absolutely not, I declared. I'm going to look out for myself. I've put in so much effort, traveled a long way, and faced so many challenges that there's no way I'm letting anyone pull me back down. You're part of the fun too. I caught a quivering breath on the other end. Do you really believe this puts you above us? Absolutely not, I declared. But it definitely gives me a sense of freedom. There was just one last thing to mention, and I ensured I delivered it with complete precision. Please refrain from reaching out to me in the future. Not by phone. Not via texts. Definitely not via social media. If you decide to go ahead, my lawyer will definitely be reaching out to you. And if you dare to do anything else, anything at all, that impacts me or my business, I will see you in court. I've got all the paperwork, the schedule, the people who saw it, and everything I need to make it happen. Don't even think about trying me again. Impressive quietude. Well, Daniel, I guess that's my cue to hang up now. It's all wrapped up. Twata chan so kwa koi. I gave Gary's the boot. I flagged the Facebook post and got it taken down. My lawyer's cease and desist letter finally made its entrance, and once it was clear, we were ready to take it to the next level. I got in touch with the clients who had gone a bit silent and gave them a friendly nudge with a dose of honesty, professionalism, and a sprinkle of transparency. Not a single one of them decided to make a run for it. Actually, 2 of them went ahead and doubled their contracts. Well, Jeremy just vanished into thin air, didn't he? I got the scoop from an old high school buddy that he's now living with one of Gary's cousins. What a twist. Last I heard, he was still out of work, still grumpy, and still sharing cryptic rants online about snakes in the family. I don't want anything bad to happen to him, but let's be real, I owe him nothing at all. And what about me? I'm feeling fantastic. The company is on the rise. I'm guiding young engineers who take me back to when I was 18, full of brilliance yet overlooked, fueled by ambition but met with skepticism. I share the secrets that everyone else seems to keep to themselves. Feel free to let your imagination soar beyond what you see around you. Feel free to walk away when it gets too painful. Feel free to craft your own existence from the remnants of the one that attempted to shatter you. There are moments when I can't help but chuckle at the memory of that night I decided to make my exit. Cheek ba lo nong triu. Duong fo im ong nu mot buk tran tin lang. The fluttering anxiety in my chest. And I can't help but feel a little chuckle about that kid. Well, he just decided to stick around instead of making a dash for it. He strolled on over to freedom, like it was a casual Sunday afternoon. And he just kept moving forward, no second thoughts at all.